This is lesson 12, and it confronts you with the reality of where we are in time and place as far as our world goes. We are not able to survive what you've been doing, and that means humanity has to change. Not because you believe this or that, or I believe this or that, but because the evidence is real. And to prove the evidence is real, it is absolutely necessary to create a courtroom wherein the evidence is proven true as best we can, and nobody gets to lie about anything. Not anything. We get to know what is true. We get to know the consequences of being wrong. We get to decide for ourselves what is or is not acceptable, what you will or you will not gamble on, and determine for ourselves before the point of no return passes us by, which may or may not have already occurred, at least for the world. We have to decide as living human beings, not as animals who want whatever they want or don't want whatever they want, but as living human beings, which means that you have to think for yourself. You can't just believe whatever you want to believe. You have to actually think about what the consequences are and what your decision is for life on earth, the future of your child, and the things that we do or we don't do as a world. As a nation, we cannot command somebody to do whatever it is they need to do because they won't believe you. That's the problem with men. They focus on one thing, and if you tell them they can't, they just simply assert that you can't tell me what to do and fight you along the way. Or they get a gun. I have a gun, but that won't solve anything. So you have to make a decision. That's what life is about, making a decision for what is true for you. And what is true for us becomes our future. So we have global warming, we have a crisis in the ocean, a crisis in pollution, a crisis in poisoning of the water supply, a crisis in mutilation of nature, a crisis in people trying to ignite atomic fire, a crisis in everything, overpopulation, you name it. We are in a crisis, even if you don't believe it, because you're hiding behind the idea that greed is all I need, or whatever I want is enough. But it is not. It won't keep you alive. Only truth can do that. And, lies and more lies and theft and more theft and betrayal and more betrayal and terrorism and more terrorism is all you have. And that's because you have been following the university, and the university, like all the rest of humanity, doesn't care about the future. They want what they want right now. Ask anybody or any young adult that says, I don't want to have what I can have when I'm old. I want it right now. I want it right now, which is, of course, why credit is so rampant and the slavery of credit is so large. So, you want it right now, so you get it right now. And then comes the cost of what it was. And here we are as a nation. We have, over the last 50 years, the universities have been more in charge than not, and the universities want to play the game of fantasies and imagination. They deluded themselves that money doesn't matter, it's just a number. Therefore, we can have as many numbers as we want. We don't have to pay for anything. We'll just call it a number and create the fantasy of money that doesn't exist, which is exactly what they did. And currently, it was $635 trillion of fantasy, plus $102 trillion of debt, just for America alone. And the rest of the world follows suit. And they too have enormous defaults in place. So, $102 billion is what they charge the future, is what they said, let the children pay. And of course the children don't want to pay for your debts. And the interest that we are charged are the taxes that they couldn't collect. And of course the inflation that they charged, which is creating money that doesn't exist, numbers instead. That is a tax they couldn't collect as well. So nonetheless, we are, what we are, and the problem with that is that politics became a game, and politics have always been a game. It's what people want to play. They want to play it, and the consequence of it is that when everything is good, politics don't matter much, because you get a little, the other side gets a little, and back and forth it goes, and it doesn't matter because there's no big stakes involved. But today there are, and of course the end result of a university in charge and taking everything and ruining everything and destroying everything and mutilating everything and terrorizing everything is a cause for why Trump got elected. And the people who want, the opposite extreme, who wants it all to stop, are ready for civil war, because they're going to stop it one way or the other. And of course the universities who have been gaining momentum because, we don't have to pay for a damn thing. Who wants to pay? So they've been gaining strength that way, and the people don't want to change. And the Trump people don't want change. They want to go back to the way it was, but you cannot. So you have to accept what is true. And what is true is that the human population rises by 100 million or so every year, and that means that 100 nations have to make room for 1 million people each every year. You made room for 1 million people this year. Well, you have to make room for 1 million people next year and the next year and the next year, and of course they grow. So that means that even though it's 100 million, you want to have to provide services and stuff for 200 million people, basically, soon. So that won't work, and we have to do something with that. And the Trump people say throw them out, which is exactly what Germans did when the Jews tried to take over Germany. But of course they were thrown out of their own nation, and they needed a nation for themselves. And that's where you get into it's us or them. That's the primary element of groups: us or them, our family or their family, mine or yours. So the end result of that is, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, and the end result of that is war, and the end result of that, of course, is murder and what have you, chaos. So that doesn't work either. But that's where you're going, because the extreme part of this society is headed in the direction that we are going to do something no matter what. And of course, Trump, like Hitler, was exactly that. We're going to do something. Whether they like it or not, we're going to take over power for ourselves. And that, of course, will not work for society. And civil war will erupt. People who you're trying to throw out will revolt, and then you get armies that get involved, and then you get SS, the creation of Gestapo, and all of those that enforce what we want rather than what you want. And that won't work either, because the end result is we are so many people that we have to share. We have to share. And as far as the border goes, what we need is, no, you cannot come here, not unless you and your country have installed and proven that the population count is now stable and will not rise anymore. And that, of course, means that young women in particular have to accept the idea of an IUD or something that will cause you can't get pregnant for, several years, because the earth just can't support you or can't support your child. And if we don't, we will starve to death and turn to cannibalism, because that's all that's left. There will be no water left to drink, even though you say, you have to prove it. And that's true. You have to prove it. You need to prove the things that are going on, and we need to prove what is true and is not true, and the consequences of being wrong. So you need to understand that. We need redress to prove that, so that everybody knows it's not a game anymore. The things that you want are not stable and can't be sustained anymore. The realities of what you believe are irrelevant, and so on. You got to find respect for this life, for this world, for this nation, for this everything, or you die. And because we are so many people, we have changed the world. The world is not the same place it was 50 years ago, when half of the population existed. It's not. I wish it was, but it's not. And it's not going back. Nobody's going to lay down and die. 4 billion more people are not going to lay down and die just because you want more space or more resources or more anything. They're not going to do that, and neither are you. And that means that we are stuck with who we are and what we have chosen. And it's not going to change for a long time. So there is no solution. War will not end anything. It'll just release weapons of mass destruction, and you'll be extinct. And of course, we have leaders that are utterly false and liars to the point of extinction. Because they want what they want, and they hate what they hate, and they judge what they judge. And the end result of that is that it will be our extinction, because they have enough weapons, enough tools to make us extinct. As does the universities across this earth. They have biological weapons, lots and lots of them do. And they know how to create weapons, just like COVID. We can just release it, and by golly, we got trillions and trillions of dollars for ourselves. Not for the people who actually do the work, but for those few who make the decision to have power and to create rulers. With rules you become rulers, with money you become rulers. We need to stop that with limited capitalism. We need to stop that with laws, not rulers, not leaders, laws. We need to review what we do so that we can survive. That's just the truth of it. And the future depends upon that, and your child depends upon that. And if you do not do what has to be done, the future will die. The future will die. And every child and every living thing on earth will die with it. Are you ASPA or C, whatever it is, in love with animals? That's a good thing. But the end result is they're going to die too. It is humanity that creates the problem. It is humanity then that becomes the solution, or the evidence of you failed. And the world itself failed with you. We cannot continue as we are. You don't have resources to rebuild what war will destroy. You cannot let the nation fall into civil war, and you cannot do just basically anything that you want to do, because there is no thought involved. There is no justice. There is no fair play. There is no equity. There is no equality. There is no anything that has value to life on earth, because that's what you chose. And so today, with Trump preparing to lead us to civil war, just following the same path that Nazi Germany did prior to World War II, we have to actually prepare to defend our democracy. Not like the universities do and claim they're God. You have to do it my way. The evidence proves that their way was false and a lie and a bastard example of stupidity and all of the things that are wrong. But we have to defend our democracy by proving it is the law of the land, by using the Constitution as our weapon, by saying to everybody that is involved in patriotism, so-called, has to obey the Constitution. And the Constitution does not allow for numerous things that are going on, didn't allow for endless things that have already happened, and we must turn the clock back whatever we can so that it does reflect what is sustainable and what is the law of this land. And redress, of course, is the solution to that. You have to use it. You have to create the democracy that we are or intended to be, so that you have the law on your side. And with the law on your side, you can say to Trump or whoever it is that you broke the law, and there are consequences for that. You have to say, no more of this.